You know, my friends, it's been a tough few months here in the house of All Day I Dream About Food. But you know what we do when the going gets rough? We bake. And we usually bake things that are rich and chocolatey. That's why I'm going to show you today how to make my keto chocolate donuts. Because chocolate for breakfast? Yes, please. Now these donuts are made with coconut flour, which means they can be made completely nut-free as well. And I have 1/3 cup of coconut flour here, and I'm going to add 1/3 cup of granulated sweetener. You can probably use anything here. This is Swerve. 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder. And if you follow my recipes, you know that I am an advocate for using a little bit of protein powder in your baked goods to help them rise properly. So this is 2 tablespoons of unflavored whey protein. You can use egg white protein or hemp protein instead. And if you really don't want to use any protein powder, you can skip it, but they might not rise quite as well. Then I've got 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, and I'm adding about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to whisk those together. Break up any clumps in the cocoa powder and in the coconut flour. Now we are ready to add our wet ingredients. So I have 3 large eggs, and of course, coconut flour needs all the eggs. You can't skip them because you will end up with a hockey puck. I've tried. A chocolate hockey puck doesn't taste any better than a rubber hockey puck, trust me. 1/4 cup of melted butter. If you want to be dairy-free, you can use something like avocado oil or coconut oil, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. We'll just break those up and stir them in. Now our mixture is going to get really thick here, so we are going to have to add some additional liquid. And when it comes to chocolate recipes like this, I always like to add cold coffee, not because it makes it taste like coffee, but because it enhances the chocolate flavor. You could just use almond milk, you could use hemp milk, or you could just use water. You could even do a mixture of cream and milk. I wouldn't suggest doing all heavy cream because it'll just make it too thick. I have 1/3 cup of leftover coffee here, and I'm just gonna add it a little at a time until I get a nice, pourable, but thick consistency. Right now, you couldn't pour it if your life depended on it. And stir it in, or more like knead it in, work it in until the batter starts to thin out a little. Okay, we'll add a little more. How much you need really depends on your coconut flour and your cocoa powder. Both of them can differ in absorbency, and so you just want to add it slowly until you feel like it's right. Oh, and I should note, you want to get everything off of your spatula too and mix that in, because that'll have some thick bits on it. That looks much better, much more like a proper batter. Now we're ready to put the batter into our donut pan, and I've greased it already. And you can see here that my donut pan only holds 6, so I'm either gonna have to wait and bake the rest, or I may turn them into muffins or use some other little donut molds that I have. Not quite as good as this one. This is my USA pan, and I love it. A good idea when you're trying to be less messy, you can use a piping bag. I'm gonna use this little cookie scoop and just kind of do this so that I'm not getting it all over my pan, because I've tried to do it other ways and I really do make a mess. And obviously I don't want to bake them like this, so I'm just gonna spread it around. You should be able to get 8 or so donuts out of this batter, but that depends a lot on how full you fill your donut pan and how big your donut pan is in the first place, because there really is no standard size to them. Our keto chocolate donuts are ready for the oven. They go in at 325 for anywhere between 16 to 20 minutes. You want them to be nicely risen and just firm to the touch. Here are our finished donuts. They look so good, nice and thick and yummy. And now we can make some glaze. Our glaze starts with 1/4 cup of powdered sweetener. And again, I'm using Swerve. And then I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder. I always recommend Dutch processed cocoa powder because it has a deeper chocolate flavor and it blends better with things. So I think it'll make a better glaze. You want to whisk those together, break up any clumps you can, but once you add the liquid, it will start to go away. Now I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of heavy cream, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and that's already looking great. If your glaze is a little too thick because you're going to dip the donuts, you can always add a little extra liquid. And again, I recommend some cold coffee, some leftover coffee. Whenever we have leftover coffee, I keep it in a jar in the fridge for purposes just like this. Thin it out a tiny bit because we want to be able to dip the tops of our donuts right into the glaze. And once again, coffee enhances the chocolate flavor. Now we can take one of our cooled chocolate donuts and dip it right into the glaze. Lift it out and you will get your fingers a little bit dirty, but then you have a perfect chocolate glazed donut. And you want to put it over on something lined with parchment or with wax paper so that you can let them set. Then you get to lick your fingers. Now, of course, if you want to do some added decoration, you want to do it while the glaze is still wet and tacky. So you could do chopped nuts, you could do some chocolate sprinkles. I'm going to do a few chocolate sprinkles on mine, and I'm going to do some rainbow sprinkles. And just sprinkle it right over, and that should stick nicely. I also have these rainbow sprinkles from Good D's that I was using in another recipe, and they're already in a nice container for me. Perfect. You can have a lot of fun with these. You could do, like I said, chopped nuts, chocolate chips, chopped peanuts, whatever you like. Now we want to dip the rest of our donuts and put any decorations on, and then we need to let them set. They need about 30 minutes, and you can speed that process up a little by getting them into the fridge. Here we go, guys. Look at these beautiful keto chocolate donuts. Now, I didn't really let them set long enough. They're still pretty tacky, but I want to give one a try. Let's go for this guy. Looks tasty, right? Okay, here we go. Look right in there. Look how good that is. Chocolatey, delicious, exactly what I needed right now. For this delicious keto donut recipe and so many more, please check out alldayidreamaboutfood.com.